possibly brief opening statement from the Minister. Just giving the Minister.
Certainly. All right.
So, no, welcome.
No, well, look, thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here on behalf of the small but mighty Ministry for Regulation. I understand it is the third smallest ministry in the government by numbers, certainly the smallest of the central agencies, and yet it has a very important job. If you look at the activities of government, all of it can ultimately be divided down into just two activities. One is taxing citizens' money and applying it to purposes it deems appropriate for the public good, and the other is placing restrictions on the use and exchange of the private property that it has not already expropriated through the process of taxing and spending. When it comes to taxing and spending, as evidenced by this committee and the annual review process we're going through, I think we have very good oversight of what government taxes money for, how it applies to spending and what sort of results it gets. And while we can all have different views and disagree about whether particular expenditures or taxes are appropriate, we're at least informed in how we do so. When it comes to the restrictions that government places on the use and exchange of property through various regulations and laws and so on, I don't believe that we have had the level of transparency or scrutiny that we need. And as a result, excessive regulation has led to a number of costs on New Zealanders. One is the immediate cost of compliance and administration for activities that go ahead. Another is the opportunity cost of activities that do not occur because people are afraid of that first type of cost. But the third is a more profound type of cost, which is the gradual erosion of our pioneering spirit as people see organisations that are gradually driven back and discouraged from taking risks and making the most of opportunities, decide that actually maybe it's just not worth giving it another go. Those three costs, I believe, are very serious for our country, and that's why I believe that the Ministry for Regulation, its Minister, at this time me, and the Regulatory Standards Bill form an important parallel to the infrastructure government has around monitoring, taxing and spending. That is a Minister of Finance, a Treasury and a Public Finance Act. This means that ultimately voters find themselves better informed and better able to judge whether those elected in government are doing a good job to ensure that the rules put in place, the restrictions on the use and exchange of property, actually are made in the public interest, the least cost and best way for those restrictions to be made, and that we genuinely do have the best public policy in the world so that people can live longer, happier and healthier lives. I also want to quickly introduce two people I know have appeared before the committee, even I think this week, Grania Moss, the Chief Executive, and Andrew, Chief Legal Advisor. I'm very proud of the very high quality people who have stepped up to become employees of the Ministry for Regulation in its initial year. And today we're going to talk about some of the very real differences that having a Ministry for Regulation has made for New Zealanders, even in the less than 1 year that it has had an actually fully funded fiscal year under the budget. So thank you very much for those that have listened politely, and I look forward to answering further questions.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. You gave in good faith that you're going to give some leeway to the opposition, and before the Minister had finished, we heard a rather unparliamentary outburst from Dr. Deborah Russell. I just wonder if that's the standard that we're going to expect before the questions have even started.
Well, no, the opposition give me the undertaking that that disorderly will not break out, and if it does, then we'll have to revert to standing orders and speaking rule. I'm sure we won't, but fair point.
I'm sorry, what was the unparliamentary outburst? Or Deborah Russell
it was something I should have kept under my breath.
Well, just tell if people would like
I
to know.
believe I said for fuck's sakes in response to something. It was unparliamentary and I shouldn't have said it.
Well, that's the standard of the Labor Party. They're swearing already.
So, Dr. Russell, you've withdrawn and apologised for that comment?
I have.
Okay. Let's move on. Dr. Duncan Webb.
Kia ora, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Minister. And I'm interested in your in running the kind of ruler, your own ruler of costs and benefits over the ministry itself. It's had 17 million this year, 18 million next year, rising to 22 million in total. Internationally, that's a lot of money to spend on this function. Office of Best Practice Regulation in Australia has a $5 million budget. Even the United States Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs, which does exactly the same role, central oversight of federal regulations, cost benefit analysis and regulatory reviews, has between 12 and 15 million US for a federal government. I'm just perplexed as to why we can't do things a little more efficiently here in New Zealand.
Well, I suspect it's that they haven't delivered the level of benefits that the Ministry for Regulation has delivered, even in the short time that it's existed. I mean, I'll give you one example. We have had modelled the potential impacts of the agricultural and horticultural sector review. If it was to halve the time taken to consent new products, then the net present value, of faster consenting to the New Zealand economy would be 272 million. So you go through it, I mean, 16, 18, 20, 22, you've got an average of 19 million. That one sector review, which is one of 4 done each year, sector reviews being about a third of the ministry's overall job, will pay for the ministry for the next,
Well, that's not the question,
10
though.
years.
My question was a comparative question, and it was look overseas and see comparator institutions. Now, have you looked overseas? Are you benchmarking yourself against overseas institutions? I'll get to the agricultural review later, but are you benchmarking yourselves on international performance measures?
Well, you need a comparison to what benefits those other institutions have delivered. If you're prepared to supply that, then we can have a conversation. But so far as I'm aware, that data's not available.
So you're not looking overseas, and the Chief Executive might want to respond, but if you're not, what I've got so far is you're not looking overseas to see what your overseas comparators are doing and how they're doing it and how they're doing it for about a quarter of the price.
Well, actually, the point is that they're not doing it. What they're doing is quite different, and they're not achieving the same benefits that we are. Therefore, we don't believe that the comparison is valid.
Well, in terms of the benefits you are achieving, I want to get to the regulatory reviews later, but in terms of improving the quality of material going through the House, there's been no tangible benefit that I can see. And in fact, if you look at the quality of regulatory impact statements, including the quality of regulatory impact statements coming from ministries with ACT members, they're falling woefully short. Gun reform, treaty principles, pay equity. Where are the reports from the Ministry for Regulation on those regulatory impact statements?
Well, the view I take is that the regulatory impact statements have not been performing for quite some time. There is a plan in place to improve those, and it goes like this. We are adopting new policy as a government under the Regulatory Standards Bill, that we will have a new set of criteria or principles against which...
Well, hang on. The mission of the department started a year ago. I mean, you said yourself that in respect of pay equity, you didn't need to consult on it. Now, that's a total contravention of your own principles. Surely you don't think it appropriate that we don't consult on things that don't involve private property.
I beg your pardon?
Well, you said in the media that it was unnecessary to consult on pay equity because it didn't affect private property rights.
No, I've never said that.
On Guy and Espina, you said, when asked why you didn't consult, you said it didn't interfere with the free use and exchange of property.
No, I haven't said that. What I have said is that we are reducing the restrictions on people's use and exchange of property. The purpose of the Ministry for Regulation is to ensure that if the government is going to place new or greater restrictions on people's freedom, then those should be justified. However, if we are reducing the number of restrictions on people's freedom,
why have we seen no improvement?
Less justification.
Why have we seen no improvement in regulatory quality, notwithstanding your ministry's been in place for in excess of a year?
Well, as I explained in my answer to your initial question, there is a process in place. Passing the Regulatory Standards Bill is critical to that. That is well underway, and I understand the committee's going to have a good opportunity.
So for $17 million, we've got nothing.
Well, no, because as I answered in one of your previous questions, we've already begun a process of regulatory sector reviews, which have already saved New Zealand far more money than the ministry has cost by a large factor.
Okay, I'm going to go to...
Well, excuse me, Mr. Chair. If somebody gives an answer, they should be taken at their word. Now, we've already had one Labor member swearing. We've now got another one who asked a question and then says, oh, that's moot in response to an answer. I think we need to operate in a bit of better faith on this committee.
No, I'm sorry, but I will respond to that. I do want to ask questions around that because it's very much up in the air as to what the benefits from your agricultural review are and the quality of the analysis that underpinned it. Let's get to that later.
Well, you're welcome to ask questions, but
Yes,
there's
and
no
I'll
point.
ask them in a themed manner. So we'll
There's no point in asking questions
that's good.
if you just criticise the answer as being dishonest or misleading.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Not dishonest.
Dr. Webb's had 8 questions is what I've counted so far, so that's sustained questioning for you. Francisco Hernandez.
Oh my gosh.
What the fuck? Sorry, I've just said exactly what Deborah Russell said.
I think we all are. No, absolutely. What the fuck? What is the point in asking questions if you cannot ask for clarity on the answer?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's because Duncan was not asking talking points. as the role of the opposition.
Yeah. Hans, you are absolutely correct.
Well, so far, the two things I picked up from David Seymour is he's obsessed with costs, but it's only costs to people that support him. And
Now, here's the interesting
he
part.
talks about people's freedom when he's actually trying to get corporate freedom.
Yeah.
He's not representing people's freedom at all.
And for those who are wondering, that familiar face there, Grania Moss is the CEO of the Ministry of Regulations, who is the former chief executive of Oranga Tamariki, who left under a shadow of the cloud when Tracy Martin was the Minister for Children. So just wondering, Grania Moss has not exactly disappeared, but boy, how the hell did she end up in that?
Yep, and I think we've seen how David Seymour is going to react to questioning, the way he's going to be.
As Laura said, keep the bottle out.
Another question.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand how Seymour can keep saying that they are invalid questions, and he is trying to answer questions that haven't been asked. Also, I'm really glad that we have not turned this into a drinking game, because I'd be fucked already with the amount of times that he has said in the middle of a sentence.
And I can't have a hangover because I've got to be at Kandala School at 6:30 tomorrow morning.
Yeah, no bugger that.
Yeah.
The other thing is, Seymour never talks about the costs to people.
No.
He's talking about costs. He never talks about how regulation, it's called red tape because a lot of it was actually bought with the blood of workers.
Yeah, well, no, because we know his stance. Bugger the people.
Yep.
Well,
But
just
then
like Ron Van Velden sat there and said, we overblew the cost of a life. Well, I remember Fred McDonald used to frequently sit there and say the average, the cost of a person's loss of a life was weighted between $1 and $3 million, according to Waka Kotahi, when it came to things in there. And he used to keep bringing up examples of, hey, you don't even, before you even had a person dead, you could sit there and pay for this project. And these were like basic little things like street lights and dark areas and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's the exact same thing they're doing with this new war on road cones.
Oh, exactly. Like, what's with the what are we going to suddenly have? Oh, sorry, you can only have them spaced 5 meters apart instead of 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. How does that keep our road crews safe? I have a lot of family and extended family working in roadworks.
Yeah. Well, David Seymour and Brooklyn Valen wouldn't mind that if they sat there and got ran over.
Those family members have been on site when a car has driven through the cones and killed their co-worker. And yet, oh no, there's too many road cones.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry that people's safety is not important to you anymore, National.
No. People's safety is too expensive, is what he's saying.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. And here's the other thing is, what happens if, say, they dumb down the regulations and then the road worker companies go, screw you, David Seymour. We're going to continue doing it what it is. Is David Seymour and Brooke Van Velden going to turn up there with their checkbook? Excuse me, road workers. Now, you are allowed to make things safer, but I'm going to tell you you're not. So now please sit there and do it, or I'm going to sit there and penalise you, because I don't believe in free autonomy.
And I'm not sure if he's trying to say that the use of road cones is too expensive when it's the roading company that pays for and owns said road cones, not the government.
I do know there is a leasing cost to sit down there and for per road cones for them to be out there in the combination of what's happening. But the fact it's like there is a cost in it, but the cost is minuscule like, put it this way, the person holding the stop go sign or pressing the button of the traffic light costs more money than the road cones on the road.
Yeah.
You know, you're paying those people $30 an hour to sit there and hold that sign, whereas you're
You
paying
don't have to pay road cones an hourly wage.
well, apparently there's a rental rate of $4 a day.
Meanwhile, Duncan is asking why it is that our Ministry of Regulation is more expensive than the one for the United States.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
but
can
it's
say
up to
two
million
different
people.
things.
And he's not. And David Seymour's not even answering the question.
No, exactly.
Should we move on to see? Was it Francisco's questions,
Yes.
Madam Chair?
I that's an odd feeling title, but yes, let's do that. I was about to say the same thing.